Kase, thanks for coming in.
Yeah. I got my High Point beer.
Your High Point beer. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing enough for all of us, too, by the way.
Heineken, ooh.
Heineken, ooh.
So what inspired Heineken, ooh? Or have you been on the ooh side for a while?
I was on the ooh side for all of January, most of February.
Yeah. So it's just continued.
Yeah.
You like how you feel?
Yeah. I mean, last week I was in Seattle with a bunch of writers for 6 days, and so I felt a little different. But this is getting back into that.
There's choices, I think, on that exact.
Oh, he wants to watch his show. Is the show out there?
There's a star.
Oh, yeah, the show's out there. That's why.
There's a star. Hey,
So we saw the fish. We saw Zeke.
We got Z on camera, too.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's a wrap. He's out.
Oh,
Yeah.
he peace out.
He's out.
I didn't want to
The
come in
star
here.
has left the
I
trailer.
did not want to come in here in the first place.
That's fine.
Normally, people want to come in the trailer. So he's one of the rare who's like, nope, not for me.
I didn't.
But this discussion of non-alcoholic beers has been on people's, it's been a source of conversation, I should say. And so and I think it's spurred from, what's the no drink, what month is it? Is it January?
January.
Yeah, dry
right?
January.
Dry January. And so sometimes that turns into February and March, depending on how you feel. And so I was purchasing some at the store, and
what'd you go with?
didn't know what. Well, they were out of the two that I was really going for, which Lagunitas makes a good IPA or whatever their version of. It's some cute name. There's some reference to no PA or something. I can't remember. And then Heineken one sells pretty well. There's choices now is basically what I'm getting at.
Yeah, people love Athletic.
Well, so Thursday.
Athletic is a good one too. Yeah.
Thursday upstairs here at the Monarch this week is the trail mixer for
that's right.
Trails Foundation Northern Utah, and Athletic donated a bunch of nonprofit beer. So if you want to
nonprofit beer,
nonprofit
is on
beer,
the brain.
Non-alcoholic beer. So if you would like to try the Athletic,
that one's very popular.
Thursday.
It's very it's good too. It's really, really good. Yeah, during the week.
All right, tell me about AWP. You're an author. You got books. You go to these things. This is a conference for writers.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay.
What's that stand for?
Association of Writers and Writing Programs.
Writing programs. Okay.
Yeah.
Are they all like professors, or is it just?
There's a big chunk that are. Yeah.
Okay.
They get paid to go.
Oh. Okay.
For writing programs. So if they're a creative writing teacher, they'll get paid to go. But then I would say more than half are just writers. They're just writers. Doing other things in life and writing at the same time is what I mean.
Is there a standard, like you have to have a certain thing published?
No.
Whatever, can anybody go?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah. No, when I first went, I had nothing.
Okay.
It's different though. It's different when you go through and you're not stressed out. Like before, it was like you're there. So they have this place called.
Wait, why would you be stressed?
Well, they have this thing called the Book Fair, and it's like massive, and they've got like 400 publishers in there, and you feel like you're supposed to go out there and like pitch your books.
So it's like a portfolio review or something like that.
And to be honest, the publishers really aren't looking for writers. You find that
this
out
has got to
later.
be like their worst weekend ever.
Yeah, well, no, they love it because they sell things.
Okay.
But like back then, I was like, oh man, I got to talk to people. I got to network. This time, I just grab a glass of wine, walk through the book fair, and pick up some stickers. And
was it more productive this time?
No, not at all. But it's a totally different vibe. Like I was able to go to like my publisher's table and just sit there, and people would come by, and I would of course sell everybody. My book was out front, and I tried to sell everybody else's book. I was like, "Do you have any ideas?" I'm like, "Well, this book over here is fantastic," and it wasn't mine. I was like, try this and try this. But it's really different when you feel like I'm not here to sell myself. I'm just here to meet friends. I talked with friends from graduate school from more than a decade ago, and go to dinner, and I had a couple book signings, and I was on a panel. So it's a lot different than it was a decade ago when I went and I didn't really have what I have now.
What do writers get out of it in the end?
Community. I think it's more community than anything.
Okay.
You might get lucky and have a journal or a publisher say, "Oh, send me your stuff," and they might take it. But that's hard.
But you're not like
that's like
reading sections of your book.
No. You're just cold.
Yeah.
You're basically cold calling up there at booths. Yeah. And I was never good at that. They're like, what are you writing? And I would say, oh, nothing. And then I'd walk away, That's just me. And so
You're a good salesperson.
Yeah, I'm great. Yes.
We're all kind of seeing that now.
I know. I'm such a businessman. But it's really chill now. I just go for the community. Well, I'm on panels now and have signings now, which is really, really nice.
What was your panel? What was the topic?
So we've done this one for 4 years in a row, and
keeping it fresh.
Yeah. So we're looking to do something next year, and I wasn't going to go next year, but it's going to be in Kansas City, and I got to go to Kansas City.
Kansas City's great. That's where I'm from. Did you know that's where?
No, I didn't know that. Yeah,
Kansas City's a great place.
Great city, and my wife and son are going to go with me for half the time because her family's just south. So I'm like, well, we all got to go this time, and so this one was on pedagogy, and this was
hot topic.
Yeah, it's fed. Well, that's how you get in. You talk. You pitch something about
throw
pedagogy.
those right words.
Yeah,
you pull them out of a hat.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of those words.
Yeah, you
Just
pick a panel about pedagogy. You're in every year, and
and you end up talking about something else. But that is the topic.
So the one that we've been doing. So we just came out with a book. I'm not on the spine, but I have 2 chapters about using the pedagogy and another word starts with a P. This is what I do with my students all day. What? Pedagogy?
I don't know.
Starts with a P.
I didn't study the vocabulary.
No, it starts with a P and ends with an oddcast.
Oh, podcasting.
Yeah,
wow.
That's the same thing. Yeah. That's what I do with my students all the time. They're like, that joke's old. But
ends with oddcast.
So using the podcast in the creative writing classroom. That's what we've been doing for 4 years, and we always.
That's very timely.
Oh, that's so cool. And you're experienced.
So Lee Camacho O'Rourke's.
Yeah.
She's on the spine. Her and Saul. So that's her book.
Okay.
Because she's very academic.
Well,
we get up to the panel, and it's always like this. Tonight, we'd like to introduce our guests. We have Dr. Kase.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's just me, because they're all PhDs and teaching at the university, and there's.
But
are they all podcasters though?
Yeah.
No.
See,
none are.
That's where you were the expert.
Yeah, Lee kind of, but she was just us.
Lee was a guest on a few episodes, and I wish she would come back because she's a doctor. Then she's got the doctor thing going on. Well,
you can tell.
So, she
gets serious.
You can tell, but she uses the right words, and she frames things correctly, and she asks the right questions.
Yeah.
And so this is the Bourbon Beer and Books podcast that Kase hosts with Sean, or Sean's host with you, and however that goes. But and then she was a co-host on
for a few,
and we would kind of go off the rails,
off the rails.
But she would bring us back in, because she's a little more heady than some of us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for
I
all
feel
of
like
us.
sometimes our shows could use that person.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for you to get your PhD, Todd. That's what I'm not getting it.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
One degree was enough. You got your master's.
It was either the PhD or the podcaster, and so we chose the
podcaster.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The PDC. I think that's what.
That's going to get you far in life, Kase.
I know. Yeah, Kase Johnstun, PDC.
Yeah. So have you thought about going to get your PhD because it feels like you're left out now, or
no?
Okay.
No,
because it doesn't. How much does it help you with writing? Because we just had an author on your podcast, and he doesn't even have his master's. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, and the truth is that with the MFA, I can teach all the way through graduate school already, so I don't need the PhD.
Okay.
So they have the PhD, but I have more.
Is that
books.
just a pay raise?
I have more books.
It's a competition.
It's huge competition.
Yeah.
They're my friends though, so.
No, I know, but when you have a few beers, how bad does it get? You guys razz each other, like who's got more published books and more published whatevers, and.
There are some people.
Yeah.
So this is
who's got the thickest book. That's what they.
thickest.
Doesn't go by thickness.
No, we go by awards.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Most prestigious.
Who's got awards? Who's been recognized? Yeah, we do that. No, most of the time it's super really cool and super supportive, especially among friends. But there are some people that always enter the conversation, and they're always trying to make it about who wins. And first off, I'm usually with Sean, and that never goes over well.
Why? Is because he speaks his mind.
Yeah, he's like, no one cares. No one cares. Just, like, why are you telling all this? Yeah, nobody cares. Like,
he says, "Hold my drink."
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
he's been blown up in war. He doesn't care
about. Yeah, he's just like whatever. Yeah. So, but no, most of the time it's really because you surround yourself by the supportive people, the people that are kind of not that way. You
do.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I do. Yeah. If I can't hang out with people like that though.
Right.
I just can't.
All right. So we're assuming that all of our listeners for the Ogden Arts and Adventure all listen to Literally, which is another Banyan podcast produced by the Banyan Collective. And so you've been doing Literally for how long now?
7 years?
I mean, at least 6. So
at least 6
to 7 years. And we
were in my house in Polk, and we moved out of there in 2000. We started there.
Well, we started at the bookstore.
We started at the bookstore, yeah.
What was the name of the bookstore?
That was 2016, so it's got to be... We didn't move to Mohawk, where we did a few, until 2016, so it's got to be coming on 7.
Yeah.
Well, that's impressive. Okay, so what was the spark for that? Why did you want to start a podcast? Do you remember?
It was all Ogden based at the beginning.
Yeah.
I only wanted to, right, Brandon? I think we only wanted to interview Ogden.
Well, that's where we started.
Yeah.
So you were on the arts committee with,
right?
And you weren't on it yet, right, Todd?
I feel like I've been on it for a long time, but I have.
Yeah.
You were right before me. Yes.
Todd was
before me.
Todd was right after Kase, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But then in Kase somehow, because I tell everyone what I do, I podcast. But I think you approached me.
Yeah, I said let's do this.
Yeah, and I was like, let's.
We wanted to start with Ogden, just Ogden.
Promote Ogden authors, because at the time, and probably still, I mean, Deanne does what she can, but there's just no promotion.
No,
I mean, Kase can publish a book and nobody knows.
Yeah.
I don't tell people. It's crazy. Yeah. And I mean, the Standard doesn't pick, Ogden, Deanne will pick it up, but really Standard, nobody promotes. Like, I bet the same thing happens to musicians too. They could put out a record or something on a label that gets picked up, maybe a Nashville record, and nobody really knows.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of the Kase
was the goal.
Kase wanted to highlight local authors.
Yeah. Then we ran out of them. And so we had to
check them all off.
Yeah, we mostly did, and then started moving out. We've interviewed writers from China,
international. Yeah, the China one was awesome.
China. Where was the Handsome Devil from?
You've had a couple of them.
Yeah, it's true. The Handsome Devil
was Arizona.
No, he was from like Taiwan. He's in Taiwan or something. High school teacher in Taiwan.
Are you saying handsome?
Handsome.
Very handsome.
He looked like Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are they doing writing with?
I don't know. Maybe he's acting sucks. but all over.
Yeah.
All over. Yeah.
So where do you source your guests?
Now they come to me. So I just kind of usually, this weekend I talked to a few people and I'm like, let's do this.
Well, I really like, because it's morphed into, and it's sort of what this podcast is morphed into too, especially on the last one where we had Cole on talking about hacks on how to become an artist, And so what Kase's Literally podcast does, turning into a commercial for Kase's podcast. Mm-hmm. What his podcast does, though, is
this is Kase's section of the podcast.
This is his section, yeah.
I should do my intro.
You should do your intro. It gives people a behind the scenes of, it's kind of raw and gritty look at the publishing lifestyle.
Yeah, we don't pull punches.
No. And it's not always, it's never glamorous. It's pretty rough, And so, but it does give you, if you want to be a writer, you want to do that for a living, listen to the Literally podcast, download some episodes, because these are real stories from real authors, and you get an idea of what they go through to publish stuff and to try and make a living, and it's fascinating.
Well, and it blows your mind.
Yeah,
it's like Adrian Todd Zuniga, literary deathmatch guy. He's famous all over the world. Has had Neil Gaiman on his show, and he's had these actors on the show. It took him 10 years to publish his book. You'd think that he would have this inward track, and it just doesn't happen that way.
These people are like, it's so funny, because the first time I heard it, I'm like, holy crap. They're like, oh yeah, I published this novel, and in Kase is like, yeah, okay, well, how long? It's like, yeah, been working on about 10 years, and like, yeah, that's about normal. I'm like, that's normal?
It's normal.
10 years is normal?
Yeah, and we've had upwards of much longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's fun. Take a listen.
It is fun though. It's fascinating. And then now they're so different too. The authors are so, that's just it, is you can please chase your own thing, whatever it is that ignites that spark, because they're so different across the board, and they make it work because they're different, I think.
Yeah. And Renaissance Cases forgot to ask 5 out of 6 authors to even read their stuff.
So they're supposed to read a section of the book.
That's what we did for like 6 years.
New Case, Renaissance Case, keeps forgetting to ask them to read.
The Renaissance Case just doesn't care. We just go in. And like,
sounds like a book club.
Yeah. Comes in, it's like, what's going on? I don't know. So.
Okay. Well, what have you learned? Have you learned anything from the podcast? Have you left the podcast thinking like, okay, I got to do this better?
Enough to run panel discussions about it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
That there are a lot of really, really talented writers out there who are publishing with traditional publishers. That will probably never make a living doing it. Yeah. And they're really, really good. And they're better than a lot of the famous ones.
Well, I think, is that like...
talent-wise, they're better.
But sure. But I compare that to like Madonna. I mean, these singers that are just okay. They're good singers, but they're not great singers.
Yeah.
But they have a story to tell. They've got this persona. They just set themselves apart in some way. It's marketing, so but they can somehow, whatever their niche is, they can sell the niche and they find success.
Yeah.
What's your niche?
My niche?
Yeah.
I haven't found it yet. I mean, I'm successful in a lot of ways, but it's not monetarily.
You have multiple published books.
Multiple.
This is what blows my mind, Todd, because I'm like, oh, you're a full-time author. No, he's teaching full-time still.
Right.
Yeah, and that's pretty common.
And, well, I can certainly understand and relate as far as, artist goes. There's a lot that, in my circle, my world, a lot of them taught, because I worked at Weber for a long time. And
and you're in academia, so.
Yeah, exactly. And so that sort of does lead to, and to some degree required to paint, draw, practice. Mm-hmm. I assume that's the case with many professors too. Like you simply do have to write a certain amount. Yeah. Or publish, I guess is the key word. Right. Probably more than anything. And
we found too that a lot of people are doing other jobs.
This is what I was going to ask too, is the fact that because you've now had so many, what episode are you up to? Do you know off the top of your head?
55 or something.
I'll look it up. Let me look it up.
So many that are just bankers or not bankers.
Yeah, I was wondering if you're starting to see a trend. If that's a question that
lot
comes
less
up.
Teachers are on the show. Wouldn't you say a lot less academics are on the show?
Well, tell me the guy's name from Wyoming again, or Montana, I mean.
Oh, Craig.
Craig, what is this? A construction worker? Like in
he
plumbing
was a pipe runner for a long time, making sure that those pipes weren't breaking down. So they'd run these things through them. They'd have to check them at each spot. Really pretty crazy stuff. But then he was a writer at The Athletic for a little while, and then he moved. But it's like a lot of people are just doing. He made money enough to. It was about 3 years. I'm gonna have to sneeze. About 3 years that he was able to live off it, and then he had to go to work, and he just found the work that pipe layers did fascinating. Yeah. So he just decided to go do that.
Oh, so you learned that after the fact.
After,
he was able to live on his writing for a while. Then he's like, that sounds interesting. And it's something where like they go in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night, and it's freezing, and they have to put something in.
Craig Lancaster.
Craig Lancaster. Put it in the pipe, and they have to make sure that they mark it every like 24 miles. I don't know. It's pretty darn cool. So we wrote a whole book about it. The one won the High Plains Book Award, which I took second.
Yeah, he did. Case took second.
Yeah.
That was
because he had a cooler day job. I mean, your day job is great, but that's a cool day job.
That's a really cool day job.
That's a good point, Todd. Maybe Case needs to find a different day job than teaching.
Yeah. Oh,
it would be in addition to. I would keep the teaching.
No, I don't know.
You're like, no, I'm good.
I think I'm done.
Yeah.
So he's up to 61 episodes.
61.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
And I have to read all. I have to read all those books. Mostly.
He reads every single one all the way through.
Sometimes I wonder, because it is interesting when I see an interviewer talk to an author about a project, right? A book or something. And so obviously it depends on the format of the show, how long you're going to talk to the author, how much you're actually going to read of the the book that they're promoting or whatever it is, So how much are you able to read?
I read most of them.
Yeah,
all the way through because my questions are pretty serious.
Yeah,
like, and I've had so many people like say
you fake your way through only so much.
Right, I've had so many people say I've had interviews where I knew they didn't read my book.
Oh yeah,
and I'm
okay.
I read most.
Do you
of
tease them when that happens? Do you like you trip them up, make them look dumb, or do you just kind of roll with it?
No, I mean,
torn. I would want to.
No, like
if someone's interviewing you.
Interviewing me?
Yeah.
And they haven't read your book.
That happened. It's happened. Oh, yeah.
And you've teased them about it?
You just move through.
Yeah, okay.
You give summary and you're like, what, that one part, and you make them nod their head and you're like, okay, yeah, we're in. I'll just keep talking. Yeah, that happens. That happens.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah. But it does set you apart as your, as your own podcast host.
So 61 books, most of them. There's been a few that I started and I couldn't really do it. Or just life got busy or something. Sure.
But we do a good job when Kase is like, oh my gosh, I was close, but I didn't quite finish this one. And then we go off the rails on something.
Yeah. I'll be like
we'll find something in the story or in the process or in the author's life that just.
Yeah. Well, I'll say always something like, I don't want to tell the end because I don't know it. Yeah. No one wants to know the end, right? We don't want to give any spoilers, do we?
No.
How far should we go? How about chapter 20? Let's cut it off there because after that I think it's too much of a spoiler. And I read to chapter 19.
Chapter 20, for instance.
Just for instance. Maybe we should after that it gets too into the weeds.
Okay, well, we do have to ask you the two questions.
Yeah.
What's coming up with the podcast, and what are you working on personally that we need to know about?
Podcast, we're just keep doing it. I love Renaissance Case. It's been about a year since we started Renaissance Case.
I effing love Renaissance Case. He's my favorite.
Yeah, and it all actually happened because we had my first Renaissance Case after my dad passed last year, and I came in just a little loaded. And hadn't read the book. And we just went for it. And so it's kind of we've stuck with Renaissance Case. The drinking hasn't been there, but the format has.
Free flow
interviewing. What am I working on? I have a new book coming out in April 2024. My agent has a book. I can do this not on literally because nobody talks about it. Because you're not supposed to talk about being on submission when you're on submission.
Oh, understood.
Is this like you're hexing your future?
No, you're just not supposed to let editors know that. It's kind of weird. Like editors don't you don't want an editor to go, oh, he's talking about he's on submission and I actually have his submission. It's a weird thing.
Because you don't want it to taint what they're
right. Doing. Yeah. So I have a book on submission. Started another one, not the Uptown Bar.
Oh my God! Tell Todd. I absolutely. No one wants this book.
No one wants this book.
No one wants this book, and it's. You know what it is? It's too brilliant.
It's too good. Maybe someday when I'm famous, somebody will just say yes to it. But I got to get home and get my son some dinner. But this, in a nutshell, this is called the Uptown Bar, and it's like a city and like a town in like Kansas, but it's like one of those towns that. Right now, if you go to Kansas, most of the town squares are dead because everybody moved to or shops at the one town 15 miles away that has the Walmart. And that's the only town that's thriving. Everything else is boarded up. So I had this idea of having this murder mystery about this bar called the Uptown Bar. And it's the only bar left in that one little town. But somebody opened a bar right next door called the Uptown Bar. And so that guy gets murdered, and it's a whole mystery about why somebody murdered the Uptown Bar owner. So, I think it's brilliant, but
I love it so much. I don't even know why.
I sent my agent 5,000 words of 3 different starts to books. She didn't pick it. Brandon knows this. She didn't pick it. She was like, yeah, maybe we'll hold off on that.
We're going to self-publish that one.
That's going to be the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, Banyan published.
The Uptown Bar. Anyway.
Oh, that's fantastic.